Yes. Good morning from Franklin Square United Methodist Church on Mother's Day. And appropriately enough, the opening song is In the Garden. I love to hear my mother sing this, and especially when she sang it with my Aunt Margaret. Those two Methodist sisters, my mother Alice and my Aunt Margaret, when they sang In the Garden, you were right there in the garden. May this be a blessing to you today, and happy Mother's Day. I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks and the sound of His voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that He gave to me within my heart is ringing. And He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with Him, though the night around me be falling, but He bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling, and He walks with me and He talks with me. He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. In the garden, as remembered by me from the sweet voice of my dear mother Alice. A mother's love can change everything. A mother's love can change everything. Down by the Nile River, in the reeds in Crocodile Country, laid a little basket with a baby in it, midst the crocodiles and the mean-spirit edict of the male Pharaoh. But the women are going to have a hand in things, and a mother's love can change everything. In due season, Joseph, Exodus chapter 1. In due season, Joseph and each of his brothers died, ending that generation. Meanwhile, their descendants were very fertile, increasing rapidly in numbers. There was a veritable population explosion, so that they soon became a large nation, and they filled the land of Goshen. Then eventually a new king, that is a Pharaoh, came to the throne of Egypt who felt no obligation to the descendants of Joseph. You remember that Joseph had saved them from famine. He told his people, "These Israelis are becoming dangerous to us because there are so many of them. Let's figure out a way to put an end to this. If we don't, and war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us and escape out of the country." So the Egyptians made slaves of them and put brutal taskmasters over them to wear them down under heavy burdens, while building the cities of Pithom and Ramesses as supply centers for the king, that is Pharaoh. But the more the Egyptians mistreated and oppressed them, the more the Israelis seemed to multiply. The Egyptians became alarmed and made the Hebrews' slavery more bitter still, forcing them to toil long and hard in the fields and to carry heavy loads of mortar and brick. Then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, instructed the Hebrew midwives, their names were Shiphrah and Puah, to kill all the Hebrew boys as soon as they were born, but let the girls live. But the midwives feared God and didn't obey the king. They let the boys live too. The king summoned them before him and demanded, "Why have you disobeyed my command and let the baby boys live?" "Sir," they told him, "the Hebrew women have their babies so quickly that we can't get there in time. They are not slow like the Egyptian women." And God blessed the midwives because they were God-fearing women. So the people of Israel continued to multiply and to become a mighty nation. And because the midwives revered God, he gave them children of their own. Then Pharaoh commanded all of his people to throw the newborn Hebrew boys into the Nile River. But the girls, he said, could live. So the command of the male head of the nation, Pharaoh, was to throw the baby boys into the Nile River so that they would drown and perish. Chapter 2, Exodus. There were at this time a Hebrew fellow and girl of the tribe of Levi who married and had a family, and a baby son was born to them. When the baby's mother saw that he was an unusual, beautiful baby, oh, what a beautiful baby, she hid him at home for 3 months. Then, when she could no longer hide him, she made a little boat or a basket or an ark from papyrus reeds, waterproofed it with tar, put the baby in it, and laid it among the reeds along the river's edge. There's the basket with Moses in it. Threw him in the Nile all right, except that he's in a little basket. And the mother's love can change everything. Along the river's edge, the baby's sister, no man involved here, this is a female plot from here on. Happy Mother's Day. The baby's sister watched from a distance to see what would happen to him. Well, this is what happened. A princess from the other side of the political spectrum, one of Pharaoh's daughters, mind you, one of Pharaoh's own daughters who said throw him in the Nile, a princess, one of Pharaoh's daughter, came down to bathe in the river. Now, that would have been a religious thing that she did, to bathe in the river. And as she and her maids were walking along the riverbank, she spied the little boat among the reeds and sent one of the maids to bring it to her. When she opened it, there was a baby, and he was crying. This touched her heart. She had compassion on him. A female looking at a crying baby in a perilous situation on the edge of the river Nile where the crocodiles abound, and she knew that her father, the Pharaoh, had said that they should perish, but yet she's a woman. Happy Mother's Day. Baskets open, the baby cries, and her heart is touched. And a mother's love can change everything. He must be one of the Hebrews' children, she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess and asked her, "Shall I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" She just happened to know somebody that was in milk. "Shall I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, do," the princess replied. So the little girl rushed home and called her mother. Of course, that's the mother of Moses as well, a wet nurse. "Take this child home and nurse him for me," the princess instructed the baby's mother, "and I will pay you well." So she took him home and nursed him. Later, when he was older, she brought him back to the princess, and he became her son. She named him Moses, meaning to draw out, because she had drawn him out of the water. She drew him out from the crocodile. She drew him out from under her father's will that he should perish. And Moses gave us the 10 Commandments. Moses stretched out his hand across the Red Sea, and it parted, and the Israelites went through on dry ground. Moses talked with God on top of the mountain. Things were changed when Moses grew up out of Pharaoh's house. And a mother's life, a mother's love, can change everything. 1 Samuel. Hannah was childless. Her rival had children, but Hannah was barren. And she prays, "O Lord of heaven, if you will look down upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, I will give him back to you, and he'll be yours for his entire lifetime." How many a mother has given their son to the Lord? Isn't that what Jesus' mother Mary did? Eli, he's a priest, noticed her mouth moving as she was praying silently and hearing no sound, thought that she'd been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your bottle." "Oh, no, sir," she replied. "I'm not drunk, but I'm very sad. I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Please don't think that I'm just some drunken bum." In that case, Eli said, "Cheer up. May the Lord of Israel grant you your petition, whatever it is." "Oh, thank you, sir," she exclaimed, and went happily back and began to take her meals again. The entire family was up early the next morning and went to tabernacle to worship the Lord once more. Then they returned home to Ramah, and when Elkanah slept with Hannah, his wife, the Lord remembered her petition. In the process of time, a baby boy was born to her. She named him Samuel, meaning ask of God, because, as she said, "I asked the Lord for him." The next year, Elkanah and Peninnah and her children went up on an annual trip to the tabernacle without Hannah, for she told her husband, "Wait until the baby is weaned, and then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there." "Well, whatever you think best," Elkanah agreed. "May the Lord's will be done." So she stayed home until the baby was weaned. Then, though he was still so small, they took him to the tabernacle in Shiloh, along with a 3-year-old bull for the sacrifice and a bushel of flour and some wine. After the sacrifice, they took the child to Eli, that's the priest. "Sir, do you remember me?" Hannah asked him. "I am the woman who stood here that time praying to the Lord. I asked him to give me this child, and he has given me my request. And now I am giving him to the Lord for as long as he lives." So she left him there in the tabernacle for the Lord to use. And the Lord used Samuel in a mighty way. He anointed the first king of Israel, Saul, and he was a great man that stood for the right things for Israel before the Lord. In 1 Kings 3:16, soon afterwards, 2 young prostitutes came to the king to have an argument settled. Sir, one of them began, we live in the same house, just the two of us, and recently I had a baby. When it was 3 days old, this woman's baby was born too, but her baby died during the night when she rolled over on it in her sleep and smothered it. Then she got up in the night and took my son from beside me while I was asleep and laid her dead child in my arms and took mine to sleep beside her. And in the morning when I tried to feed my baby, it was dead. But when it became light outside, I saw that it wasn't my son at all. Then the other woman interrupted, it certainly was her son, and the living child is mine. No, the first woman said, the dead one is yours, and the living one is mine. And so they argued back and forth before the king. Then the king said, this is King Solomon, who prayed for wisdom. Then the king said, let's get the facts straight. Both of you claim the living child, and each says that the dead child belongs to the other. All right, bring me a sword. So a sword was brought to the king. Then he said, divide the living child in two and give half to each of these women. Then the woman who really was the mother of the child and who loved him very much cried out, oh no, sir, give her the child. Don't kill him. But the other woman said, all right, it will be neither yours nor mine. Divide it between us. Then the king said, give the baby to the woman who wants him to live, for she is his mother. Mother's love can change everything. Oh, happy Mother's Day. Luke chapter 2, verse 33. Joseph and Mary just stood there. They're in the temple. They are bringing Jesus to present him unto the Lord. Joseph and Mary just stood there marveling at what had been said about Jesus. Simeon blessed them, but then said to Mary, a sword, to Mary, the mother of Jesus, a sword shall pierce your soul, for this child shall be rejected by many in Israel, and this to their undoing. But he will be the greatest joy of many others, and the deepest thoughts of many hearts will be revealed. When the angel came to Mary and said, you will conceive, bear a child, she said, how can this be? The angel said, the Holy Spirit will overshadow you. And Mary said, let it be so to the handmaiden, that is the servant of the Lord. And the deepest thoughts of many hearts shall be revealed. Salvation open. Sins forgiven. Because Mary was obedient. Bore the child. And his name is Jesus. And he shall save his people from their sins. And the mother's love can and does and will change everything. Happy Mother's Day.